Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network Groong Week in Review. This show was recorded Sunday, January 30th, 2022. I'm Hovik Manucharyan, and along with Aspet Bedrosyan, we're going to talk about the following major topics. Game of Chicken over Ukraine, Antalya Diplomatic Forum, Army Day in Armenia, and the Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And to talk about these issues, we have with us Suren Sargsyan, who is the founder and president of the Armenian Center for American Studies, a research center based in Yerevan. Hello and welcome, Suren.
Hello, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Yes, great to have you. Okay, our first topic we've covered throughout January. We've talked with experts on this podcast about the standoff over Ukraine between the West and Russia. We don't want to rehash through all of the back and forth in the politics of the affair, but basically Putin has demanded that the West should respect its security needs, including its right to influence post-Soviet and Warsaw Pact states in a manner to protect itself. Meanwhile, the West, led by the US, has ramped up the rhetoric about Russia's imminent invasion of Ukraine and threatened a severe and coordinated response to it. Suren, you have a solid grasp of the West's security doctrine. Can you summarize what each side wants, their red lines, and how you see this game of chicken resolving itself?
Well, thank you again for this opportunity. And when we're talking about the crisis over Ukraine, we have to understand what are the red lines of the parties. So what is the red line for Ukraine or for the West, and what is the red line for the Russian Federation? I think it's very clear that for Russia, the red line is that neighboring countries, neighboring states are not joining NATO. They have to be sure that these countries are not going to join NATO because they consider it as a direct threat to national security of Russian Federation. And Ukraine is a challenge for Russia because it's a big country, because it's a neighboring country. They have a border, they have a very long mutual border, and Russians are having this security concern. By the way, these concerns are sort of supported or shared by China. We didn't mention it. I mean, you didn't mention it, but it's very important to understand that a couple of days ago when Secretary Blinken was talking to Chinese foreign minister said that Russia's security concerns should be taken seriously. So this is very important moment that we have to understand. At the same time, I'm sure the West understands that more they put a pressure on Russia or push Russia, more it's likely that Russia will go to China for a strategic alliance or cooperation. So this is something very important. We have to mention it. And the West, and the red line for the West is the freedom of choice of the Ukraine. And the West is saying, okay, guys, we understand your concerns, but we cannot say to the Ukraine or anyone else, guys, you cannot join NATO because Russia is unhappy about your foreign policy priorities. So basically, if we're talking about the red lines, these are the main two red lines. And as you see, very tough lines. And as we can understand, it's a very difficult situation. So there is a big concentration of armed forces from both sides of the border. This kind of concentration never happened since the Second World War in this part of the world. Hundreds of thousands troops from Russia, and I think about the same number from Ukraine. And the West is saying that we're not going to support you military-wise. I mean, with the personnel, but we're going to support you by providing assistance, by providing arms, etc.
And so economic sanctions on Russia.
Yes, and the upcoming and possible economic sanctions. But there is no. What is very important here to realize that there is no single and united position for the NATO countries, because some countries are not very happy about possible economic sanctions on Russia because they are saying that the sanctions are not hurting Russia only but also hurting us. So as you know, Germany is not very happy with what is happening, and they're openly talking about it. So tough situation.
I wanted to play the devil's advocate here because the politics in the United States is so polarized.
Yes.
That any deviation from the standard party line of war, or I'm sorry to simplify that, but basically Ukraine's right to choose its friends. Any deviation from that is seen as being pro-authoritarian. Although I would wonder what those people think about Chile's right to choose or Venezuela's right to choose, right?
Oh, okay.
So, so some new things happened this week, though, that I wanted to talk about. It was very interesting that Zelensky essentially seemed to directly contradict U.S. Because U.S. keeps saying that Russia is getting ready to attack. Russia is going to attack tomorrow. They even probably were calculating the time, that Russia is going to attack. And here it goes Zelensky and says that, you know what, they're actually not going to attack. And when you look at the balance of forces, it's not an attacking quantity. It's about the same quantity that Ukraine has amassed on its border. So why did Zelensky publicly disrespect America that way? Is it like, some people are saying that he's afraid, and some people are saying that it's actually a disagreement in terms of how far Ukraine wants to push this?
Well, there are a lot of possible scenarios why Zelensky is making this kind of statement. Well, first of all, he can just do that to make sure that there is no panic in his team, in his army, in his country, because when you're talking about war, it's a disaster. It's a humanitarian disaster. And when you're saying, okay, tomorrow is going to be a war, okay, there is no way to skip the war, and of course, this is creating a lot of problems for the government, for the president, for the commander in chief, including society, including the army, including the generals, etc. So I think this is one of the explanation, at least for me, that he's trying to say, okay, don't talk about it all the time, because simply there's a lot of panic here. This is one of the explanations that I have. Of course, there might be a lot of other explanation, including that there are some differences between the positions of Kiev and Washington, or Kiev and West. But don't forget that the Minister of Foreign Affairs said a couple of days ago that no problem can be solved without the involvement of Ukraine. There was a tweet by Foreign Minister, and it was shared via Twitter by Secretary Blinken, and he said, yes, we will not do anything without taking into consideration the position of Ukraine. So this is the basic situation.
Suren, do you think any of U.S.'s positions on the Ukraine right now are led by internal dynamics between the two major parties, the Democrats versus the Republicans?
I think there's a consensus in the Congress, and there's a consensus in the society. I would say in the United States, because whatever we see, whatever we read, whether it's Fox News, whether it's CNN, I think the line is the same. I mean, more or less the same. Well, of course, there are some statements coming from former President Trump. He's saying that during his time in the office, this wouldn't happen, etc. But we have to understand that there is a consensus probably about this crisis in Ukraine. And you know that there are two sanction bills against Moscow. One is led by a Republican representative in the House, and the other one is sponsored by Senator Menendez in Senate. So this is a bipartisan support and bipartisan consensus, I think.
Okay, let's turn to the domestic scene in Armenia. In the context of the Turkish-Armenian normalization process, Turkey has invited Armenia to attend the diplomatic forum it's holding on a quote-unquote beautiful Antalya resort on the coast of the Mediterranean. The media has quoted various Turkish officials who have said that Armenia may attend the diplomatic forum, and also hinting that possibly Prime Minister Pashinyan himself, or maybe the Foreign Minister Mirzoyan, may lead the Armenian attendance. Meanwhile, Armenia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs won't yet confirm whether a decision has been made to attend the forum or not. Suren, can you tell us what is special about the forum in Antalya? In what way is this forum important for us to attend?
This is important not for us to attend, but for Turkey, because they will try to show the world that, okay, look what's happening. We are trying to normalize our relations with our neighbors, with Armenia. So you see, there is an Armenian delegation coming here. This is an important messaging for inside, first of all, for Turkish people, and of course for the West and for the other countries, that look, we are trying to come to normal talks, and this is what Turkey wants to show the world. I mean, they are saying, okay, look, Armenia initiated this process, and we're not saying no. We're trying to be involved. We're trying to negotiate. This is what Turkey is trying to do. This is the first. The second, in Moscow, the first meeting took place, and after that, Turkish foreign minister said, okay, thank you, Russia. Thank you, Moscow, very much for this hospitality. Thank you for the dinner. But now I think we can talk directly without without a third party involved as a mediator or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is the second step, because direct talks will happen in Antalya, definitely.
I see. And without Russian presence, right?
Yes.
I've noted that Armenians have attended the forum in the past. I was looking at their past attendee lists, and for example, Professor Girardli Baridian is listed among the attendees of 2021. Do you think that is one thing? But it's for Turkey, it's more important that officially Yerevan attend this forum?
Of course, because we're talking about diplomacy here. We're not talking about second-track diplomacy. Girardli Baridian could be on a second track or 1.5-track diplomacy. But now, if we have an official delegation led by the prime minister or foreign minister or the special representative for the negotiations with Turkey, Rubinian, this is a different story.
So then I wanted to ask, in my mind, I was thinking, what can Armenia gain? But actually, I'll rephrase that and say, what can Armenia do today, given our de facto status, to lose the least? Because I really, personally, I don't want to set it up for you in a negative way, but at least I myself don't see much that we can gain out of this. But what should Armenia do essentially to maximize the outcome for its own benefit during this time?
It is a fact that you cannot live with your neighbors with the problems like forever. You have to deal with your neighbors. You have to talk to them. You have to open borders. You have to open the doors. I mean, you cannot have problems like forever. But at the same time, you cannot give whatever you have just for opening the doors, opening the gates and opening the borders. I'm sure there is no calculations in our government, in our Ministry of Economy on economic benefits that Armenian economy could have when we're opening the border. Moreover, I think it will hurt our economy because very cheap Turkish vegetables could come to Armenia, could take the market here, and you know that they're very, very cheap. The Turkish vegetables and fruits, etc., are very cheap, and the local farmers will have a lot of problems because of that. I think this is one of the problems that we will have. The second issue is, of course, security aspects of opening the border. Are we ready to open the borders with Turkey? Are we ready security-wise? Are we ready army-wise? Are we ready national security agency-wise? I mean, there are a lot of problems here that are not solved. And are we ready to have economic involvement of Turkey here? Are we ready to give Turkey possibility to get inside, to make investments, and to literally buy whatever they can buy here? Are we ready for this? So a lot of questions and no answers, at least from the Armenian officials. And moreover, I will tell you that about the possible meetings, about the possible conversation and talks, we're having information, we're receiving information not from the Armenian part, probably not from the Armenian party, but from Turkish party, which is a nonsense. Armenian society deserves to know what is happening and what is on a table of negotiations and what's happening around. So I think we have a lot of problems, and I don't have any answers to just little part of the questions that I mentioned.
Right. That sort of leads right into what I want to ask about. Why Armenia's, for example, Ministry of Foreign Affairs is not confirming that they're even going to attend. We've heard from the Turkish side that we may attend. So I personally think that they must have received a positive RSVP. And there have been Greek media, Arabic media, other international media saying that the Armenians are going to be attending. Everyone except Armenia seems to know that they're going to be attending this diplomatic forum. Why are they not confirming?
I think everybody knows besides Armenia. That means that Armenia is not a decision maker. Someone else has to decide instead of us.
Right.
This is the only explanation I can have after having your question formed like that. So basically, I think Armenia is now Minister of Foreign Affairs is trying to coordinate the process with Russia, because technically we said that Russia could be, we asked Russia to be the third party, the mediator for Armenian-Turkish rapprochement. And now, if we are going directly to Turkey, Russia is not going to be there. So basically, Russia is going to be out of the process. And that is why I think Armenians are trying to talk to Russia to figure out how to do, what to do, where to go, what is the level of the delegation that could go, etc. So a lot of things to discuss. That's why I think they don't have the final answer.
That's very interesting. I have not checked any of the attendee lists for Russian diplomats, so I don't know if they're invited, not
actually,
invited.
It doesn't even matter if Russian delegation. I mean, it doesn't matter if Russians are going to be there or not. But in the negotiation room, is Russia going to be there or not? Right. This is the question, because Turks are saying we can talk directly. We don't need Russians to be here, and Armenians are saying no, we need Russians to be here, and Turks are saying, okay, guys, why do you need anyone else? This is mutual thing, this is Turkish-Armenian relations, and we are talking directly. Why would you need someone else? If it's that Russia or the United States, doesn't matter, but why do we need them?
I'm going to say something that maybe sounds very anathema to some. I'm a grandson of survivors, but we keep talking about that Armenia has essentially ceded or conceded to one of Turkey's demands or all of Turkey's demands, but the main one, another one, well, for a long time, the main one was Armenia's potential claim to pursuing the cause of the sort of Armenian genocide. And within this context, last week on Monday, Pashinyan gave in his press conference, he essentially said that Armenia has never taken that task to be the leader for genocide recognition worldwide. And essentially, he was the insinuation being that Armenia has never done this, so why would it change? What do you think about that? Do you think that Armenia never had a proactive policy about Armenian genocide recognition? Is he technically or even in spirit saying the right things?
This is a very interesting question, because whatever you're saying and whatever the Prime Minister mentioned is crystallizing the position of Armenia on the genocide, on the Armenian genocide. And there is a question if the Armenian genocide is on the foreign political agenda of Armenia. And the Prime Minister is not talking about the Armenian genocide. He's saying that we have to be the flagman of the recognition of the genocides. He is not talking about the Armenian genocide. He's talking about the genocides that are happening around the world. And you probably remember in 2015, there was a resolution of the General Assembly in the United Nations, and it was initiated by the Armenia, and the Turkey joined this initiative. And it was not about the Armenian genocide. It was about the genocide that are happening around the world or happened around the world. But it's not about Armenian genocide. So if you noticed, he didn't talk while talking about these genocides around the world happening around. He didn't mention the Armenian genocide as a precondition or as an issue in the foreign political agenda of Armenia. This is the first.
Yeah, and second, as a matter of fact, in 2021, December of last year, Armenia made a statement on the anniversary of that, I guess, what is it, convention or sort of statement?
Yes.
Where, again, Armenian genocide wasn't mentioned heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So So this is number one. Number two, when I was doing a research at the U.S. State Department archives, and I was trying to find declassified documents about Armenia, I found a very interesting document dated to 1991. Where the United States is trying to be a mediator between Turkish and Armenian relations. And it's very interesting that the US is giving the preconditions, sort of this letter of preconditions came from Ankara to Foreign Minister of Armenia, saying, Turks are saying that you have to forget about the genocide. You have to forget about Nagorno-Karabakh. These are two main preconditions. You have to make a statement, official statement, that you don't have any territorial claims from Turkey. You have to make a statement that you do recognize territorial integrity of Turkey in the way it is. And these were the main preconditions. And there were a lot of secondary preconditions. They were saying that you need to edit your Declaration of Independence, because in your Declaration of Independence, you're talking about Eastern and Western Armenia. And they were also saying you need to edit your coat of arms, because there's Ararat on your coat of arms, which belongs to us. They're saying, so you have to remove it. And how can you how can you edit Declaration of Independence, and how can you edit the Code of Arms? Because it's written in our constitution, right? How can you edit? You have to change the constitution. And we're changing the constitution. There is a commission that will be dealing with this process, and Armenia will change the constitution.
Suran, wasn't it at this time also that the Armenian response on the street was that Turkey would have to remove the moon from the flag?
Yes, because it was not Armenia, it was the Soviet delegation, and they said you have to remove because it doesn't belong to you. Yeah. So yes.
So, Suran, do you think that essentially? Many of us were like sort of whispering that we didn't want to say this publicly, that Armenia is changing its constitution specifically for this purpose.
Of course not.
But it doesn't make sense. But yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, why would Pashinyan already has full power? So it's not about cementing power because he already has all the branches of the government in his hands.
Of course.
So so you think it's directly related to this issue?
No, of course not. Of course not. They are going to change the constitution. I think they're going to go back to the presidential constitution. I'm not sure about it. Well, I cannot say anything about it because the commission is just formed. There's a lot of job to be done. Mm-hmm. But you are right. Pashinyan is very strong, and he's getting stronger and stronger. Now he has his own presidential candidate. Now he has his own ombudsman, human rights defender, and Arman Tatyan will not be there pretty soon, and they will not have any problems about this institution, etc. So what I'm trying to say, he has a lot of power, but probably he's going to change the constitution to make it a presidential country, to become a president, and in that case, he can be re-elected twice. Well, there is no limitation in the case of in the parliamentary state. I mean, you can be re-elected as much as you want, as much as you have a majority in your parliament. But still, there are some issues that they want to change. There are some things they want to change, and I'm not sure about the Code of Arms, and I'm not sure about the Declaration of Independence. Let's wait and try to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Constitutional Commission, I guess it's comprised of several different people, including Edmond Marukyan, but some of the names on there are very interesting. And we have Daniel Ionisyan, we have Artur Sakuns, Vahagan Hovakimian, who used to be
I don't know these people. You're talking about the people I don't know since when they are the experts in the constitutional law. I don't know. I mean, I'm not just
the joke.
But I don't know.
The joke was too bad. Vatkes Gaspari is not on this list. This is the guy that went down.
Would be logical. But there is Arman Tatyan there. But Arman Tatyan is not there as Arman Tatyan. Arman Tatyan is there as a human rights defender. So next human rights defender will come, and she will replace Arman Tatyan in this team.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, let's go to our next topic. Mm-hmm. The Armenian National Army was established on January 28, 1992. This year, 2 days ago, it was the 30th anniversary. I just want to say that to those heroes listening who have served in the defense of homeland, to those who know people who have given the ultimate price, we express our depth of gratitude to your contributions and congratulate you on this holiday. But going back to the issue, it became politicized this week because, well, first, let's say that many experts I've heard credit the speed at which Armenia was able to transform its various ragtag paramilitary groups into a standing army to be one of the core reasons why Armenia won the first Artsakh war in the early 90s. And this holiday has also been celebrated every year since its inception, which happened in 2001 under Kocharyan. But unfortunately, this year, many high-profile events involving public officials were canceled, including Prime Minister Pashinyan, who was not able to make it. The reason given was COVID. We know what happened last week. We know that all of these officials were at the wedding of the Minister of Defense, ironically, and apparently they all got COVID there. But it's still surprising to me that the events themselves were canceled. They could have been done, someone else could have attended for them. But did you attend any commemorative events, Suran? And what are your thoughts about this whole ordeal? Is it just another thing that's overtly politicized, or do you have concerns about actually, Armenia officially celebrating this? And what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I was not invited to any official events. because I'm not an official. I'm just a regular citizen of this country. And I do celebrate that day with my friends who served at the army, different times, different periods. But I have no idea why did they decide to not cancel. They decided not to organize anything. When you are going to organize something big, you have to start the process many months ago, and they didn't cancel anything. They just didn't do anything. So
Right.
This is very important to understand, which means they didn't organize anything. It's obvious that this kind of big events, you have to start a process of organizing invitations, etc. But all of a sudden you are canceling. No, you're not canceling because there was nothing organized. And of course, a lot of questions, a lot of discussions. Why did it happen? Is the main reason COVID or not? But during the COVID, a lot of other parties and a lot of our other events are happening. But you realize that this important date was not celebrated as it should be celebrated or as it was celebrated. So, well, a lot of questions, in fact.
Also, one question, if it's in your area of expertise, but still, your opinion would be valued. Ever since the end of the war, we've been hearing about the necessity to transform Armenia's army into a professional one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what this means? And have you seen any evidence of steps in that direction?
I don't know what does that mean in a sense of the position of the Armenian government. I don't know what they mean by saying the professional army. They're talking about the army where everybody will come to serve with a contract, or there will be a system that everybody has to go to the army all the male population, as soon as they become 18 years old, they have to go to the army, compulsory military service. Nobody knows what is it. Nobody's seen the concept. Nobody's seen the paper, the strategy. Nobody knows what is it about to become a professional army. Nobody knows it. But I suppose the Armenian government doesn't want to spend a lot of money on the security. They don't want to spend a lot of money on army. So they said, okay, let's make it a professional army. If you don't have any problems with Turkey, if you don't have any problems with Azerbaijan, why would you need an army? I think this is the main logic behind the process.
Is there any evidence of any other type of reform in the Armenian military? Is it being replenished? Are the tanks that were lost being replaced? Is there any evidence that something is happening in the army?
I have no idea because, as you can understand, this is not a public information. This is a classified probably information. Nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows. We don't even have numbers of prisoners of war. We don't have numbers of missing soldiers. We don't have numbers of how many Armenian soldiers were killed during the war. Not only soldiers, but also civilians. So, and if we don't even have these numbers, how could we have numbers of whatever we lost?
Student, let's go to the next topic, which is Armenian foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
You have been very vocal about the Armenian foreign policy in general on social media, as well as in your analyses. I want to talk to you a little bit about whether Armenia's foreign policy is alive and whether our interests are being pursued. Specifically, what I mean is that how come nobody follows through on Armen Sarkisyan's multiple trips to Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE? We keep talking about those countries being very important to us and opportunities to establish new relations and strengthen our relations.
And nothing really happened.
Those seem to be like a few easy wins. If we're talking about Armenia setting up, like Saudi Arabia, for instance, is one perfect example. It doesn't have official relations with Armenia, ostensibly because in the past, Azerbaijan had pressured it to not sign any deal with Armenia because of Artsakh. Now, just like Turkey, that precondition has been removed. So why not do some very quick wins in this territory and show that we are alive?
Okay, let's try to understand what is happening in the world, and let's try to understand what is Armenia doing. I think we will all agree on the fact that the most important and the biggest challenge for Armenia is Nagorno-Karabakh issue, right? Because it's not only an issue of self-determination, but it's also an issue of the security, etc., etc. So nobody knows, and nobody's saying what is the position of the Armenian government on the future of Artsakh. If they want to recognize it, if they want it to be recognized by foreign countries, if they want Artsakh to join Armenia, if they want it to be an independent, nobody knows. I mean, this is the most important issue in your foreign policy, and you're not talking about it, and you don't have a position, or you have a position, but it's a secret position, which is bad because the prime minister mentioned that whatever is going to be on a table of negotiations on Karabakh, public will know about it, but it didn't happen. So this is the first aspect. Second, nobody knows where is Armenia going, where is Armenia moving. Okay, we're saying that we want to have good relations with Turkey. Okay, so and what is next? I mean, are we going to develop our relations with Russia, or we're going to develop our relations with Turkey? What is our foreign political agenda? Where are we going? What are we doing? I mean, there are a lot of questions, and I think our foreign policy can be called like one step at a time. So we don't have any strategy, we don't have any structural concepts about our foreign policy, right. What to do, where to go, how to talk to Saudi Arabia,
it's very reactive.
How to talk to Pakistan. Of course, it's not. It is actually, and a lot of questions. So I have hundreds of questions about our foreign policy, and I'm coming to a conclusion that we simply don't have it. Okay, there's a problem here. Okay, let's try to solve the problem. Okay, there's a problem there. Let's try to. I mean, there is no strategy about it. Where is Armenia moving? Where is Armenia going? I have no idea.
Well, that was we thought that question was too easy, but we still had to ask.
We have a lot more questions in foreign policy, but I think we're going to keep that for a real conversation with Suren. We're coming to the end of the show, so we have a moment for each of the members on this show to say something on their mind. Hovik, do you have something to get off your chest?
So this may not be fully related to Armenian issues, but I think it is. And I often ask myself after the war, for instance, why aren't the Armenian people rising up? And I think the answer can be seen and can be mirrored globally with the overly authoritarian policies of different governments on the issue of COVID. This week, we saw Canadian truckers, actually, I believe 50,000 of them, form very long convoys and go to Ottawa to protest the Canadian government's policy on lockdowns. And Trudeau, similar to many other governments around the world, dismissed everyone, saying that they are a fringe and they are holding, quote, unacceptable views on issues. I don't know when questioning any policy of the government could be considered unacceptable, but I think that in general, the world is devolving into sort of a little bit of a, chaos. And this lack of social cohesion is contributing to citizens basically not being able to organize and being able to and being very confused around events. So I thought that was an interesting parallel. And I have to say, I'm also a little bit pissed off at Armenians. Yes, I'm sorry. I have to say this, but I'm a little bit pissed off at Armenians who toe the government line, and especially those in the Armenian opposition who question Pashinyan, for instance, and who question Armenian authoritarian policies, but then completely, go for the hook, line, and the sinker when it comes to things like mandating that everyone has a vaccine in order to go to the fucking restroom at a gas station. I think this is insane that what the world is coming to, and I have to get it off my chest. If you're following me on Twitter, you're probably getting a lot of this already, but I want to be thankful to, if there's any Armenians who are truckers who participated in the rally in Canada, then kudos to you. But just to close, why are so many Armenians pissed off that Facebook is censoring information about Monte Melkonian, but at the same time they're happy when Facebook is banning people just for expressing questions? And these are world famous doctors, Nobel laureates. They're being banned from Twitter and from Facebook because they question the vaccine orthodoxy, or in just general, the orthodoxy around health policy. So that's my beef.
Okay, well, Hovik drops the F-bomb. Suren, do you have anything to get off your chest?
Yes, I think I will use this opportunity to talk about my book that will be published in about 2 weeks. It's the first Armenian book on American studies on U.S. foreign policy towards Armenia, and this is the book about George Bush 41's foreign policy towards Armenia. And I worked at the Library of George Bush. I worked at the National Archives. I worked at the State Department Archives. And I found the perfect documents saying what was happening in the early 90s when the United States were establishing diplomatic relations with Armenia. Even before that, I found a lot of interesting documents, and it's in the book, a lot of interesting documents about the global plan, discussed between the Turkish and American presidents, between Bush and President Özal of Turkey. A lot of interesting documents and a lot of interesting things. And I'm very happy to be able to do this one. This is the first book of mine, and I'm already working on the second one. So this is about Bush foreign policy towards Armenia. The second one will be about Clinton's foreign policy on Armenia, and so on. So I'm very happy about it.
Suren, congratulations. What is the title of the book?
Thank you. Now we have the Armenian version only, not translated yet into English. And the Armenian name is Armenia and Bush himself. That's the name of the book. Yeah, but in Armenian it's Hayastana Yev Bush Nanzam. So basically, this is what we decided to choose as a name.
Is it available online for purchase?
Not yet, but I suppose that the publisher will have that opportunity. Will give that opportunity too.
And who's the publisher?
The publisher is NewMag. You probably know NewMag. They're a professional team, so I decided to work with them.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Nice.
Okay, we will. Whenever we have a link, we'll link to that.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you, Suren, and thanks, Hovik.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that was our Week in Review show, and we hope it helped you catch up with some of the issues in and around Armenia from this past week. As always, we invite your feedback and your suggestions. You can find us on most social media and podcast platforms or our website, groong.org. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our pages, and follow us on social media. On behalf of everyone in this episode, we wish you a good week. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.